some list of employees I have. So just give me 1 minute. So let's say I have 100 employees in my company. I want to display the list of all 100 employees in your company. So this is a sort of data that you can populate from Node.js. So we'll be creating and using Node.js in order to create some APIs. These APIs are capable of fetching some data from the background database that you have. So again, the database is going to be MongoDB. And yep, so let's say you have a scenario wherein you have a list of 100 employees. Now, the next step that you want to do is you want to display these employees on the web page. So definitely you need to give a very interactive UI wherein you'll be rendering these application or these users. You'll be showing the details of each users, and apart from that, we'll be providing user with the capability to add more data into it, or modify the existing data as well. So, yep, just a minute. Can everyone be on mute, please?
So Mayank, I'll ensure that nobody else is not on mute. I'll take care of that.
Okay. So, yep, during the session, again, we are going to deal with these four basic technologies. So I was just trying to make an application up and running. So I will be creating an application, something like this. This is not fully working right now. So let's say we'll be creating some stock performance application. In that stock performance, you can analyze the data that the company has for last 15 days, maybe for last 30 days. Then let's say if you want to add more companies, you want to compare the performance of 5 different companies. So you can add one more company to it, and then you'll be having 2 different graphs or 3 different graphs, or whatever number of graphs you want to put in. So we'll be having certain graphs that will be displaying some data of a particular company. So we can create a React application. So this application right now is created in a React framework. But yeah, the data is not there. So that's the reason we can't see anything into it. We can give some capability of adding certain data for a company. I can add my company. I can add some data to this particular company, add some description, and we can create new companies, and then we can see what is the performance of those companies for last 7 days, 15 days, 30 days, and so on. So this particular application, what it would do is the front end part that you can see this add company page, you can see these graphs that you have, you can see these drop downs. So this is a part of a React application. So we'll be using a React framework to bring in a user interface, the data that you are getting in the background. So what is the performance of a company for last 7 days? You whenever you are looking for a data, let's say if you're looking for a application like Money Control, which gives you details about a single stock, how it is performing in last few days. So let's say we look for SBI, a stock of SBI, and maybe what happens is it can give you some data. So the data that you have right now, when you click a particular stock, that has to be retrieved from some backend application, or there is some backend which saves this particular data as soon as you just try to load this application, or just whenever you're typing in SBI, you're getting the details or some stats about it, which are already stored somewhere. So that's pretty much that we will try to create. We'll create a small, we can't create that big application, but yeah, we can create something which can be like this, wherein we'll be putting some performance data for last 15 or 30 days for a company. And then we can add more companies. We can put an option for comparing two companies, add more companies, analyze their data, and so on. So yeah, right now my node server is not running in the background. That's why I don't have any graph getting populated over here. But yeah, when we'll be working with the React application or this MERN stack, the data that is coming from the background might be stored in a MongoDB database. The front end part is React. Then you can see every time you click any of the button, your routing changes. So you have different URLs. So each URL, what will happen on each URL is governed by a framework called Express. So Express says, okay, if the URL is localhost 3001, then this page has to be shown. If the localhost is, if the URL is localhost 301 add company, then this sort of URL has to be shown, or this type of page has to be rendered. So this is what Express would do. And the last part is Node.js. Node.js is a sort of a binding between all these databases, front end and the routing. So we are using a server side language called Node.js to make this application up and running end to end. End to end means React to fetch, to show you the data, MongoDB to fetch some data, and routing to define the routes. So the bridge between all these three technologies is a single server, Node.js, where you actually, so whenever you are doing www.amazon.com, you are hitting a server for some data and web page. So Node.js is that particular server which receives the request. And then as per the request, it takes further action. It gives you certain URL, it gives you certain UI, it gives you certain output data. So that is what we mean by a MERN stack. Any questions about the stack that we are going to cover? And so yeah, if you are new to the programming also, we'll start from the scratch and we'll see this particular stock performance application getting developed over a period of time. So in that, the entire time span of this particular course, we'll see how we'll just make this particular application up and running, or we'll have one more application in which we can have some employee data. We can add some employees, delete some employees with some static data. And over here, we'll create some node API, which will give you some data from the background. And then we'll just render that data and visualize some stocks. So this is, the how this course would be, governed, how we'll start and what is the end. So the end is creating an application like this. The start is what is JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and then moving to Node, Express, React, and other technologies, MongoDB. All these technologies are pretty new in the market. There are not much developers who are already working on these technologies. If you want to find what kind of jobs are available on this particular stack, you can just go to naukri.com. I have my login ID. We can search for some jobs which are available on React, and let's see how many search results that we get. So yeah, this might be having a search result 2 or 3 months. So in 2 or 3 months, we have certain requests for the jobs, which is around 9,330. So there are 9,330 active requests on Naukri.com for these kind of frameworks. Or what we can do is we can go and modify our search and write MERN stack. So if you just look for this, so the MERN stack, again, they haven't put some MERN stack. You can put these technologies individually. So if you type node, then you'll be having again some 8,000 jobs. Then if you write MongoDB, again, you have a whole list of companies and jobs available on this particular stack. I misspelled it, Mongo. Okay, so again, you can see a market of 5,000 jobs, which are there, active jobs on Naukri.com. So yeah, the market for this MERN stack technology is huge. And if you're starting new into this particular development, then it is a what you have to learn is just one framework, which is JavaScript, and this JavaScript will help you learn the entire stack. Using JavaScript, you'll be making some database requests. Using JavaScript, you'll be creating a node server. Using JavaScript, you are creating a React application. You are configuring your Express or the routing using React. So the best part of this particular technology or this particular technology stack is you don't have to get into multiple technologies. You just have to learn syntactical stuff once for JavaScript, and that will work for entire stack seamlessly. And my focus during this particular session would be to make you as comfortable as possible with some JavaScript code that we can write, because Everything else is just a syntactical sugar over JavaScript. So we'll focus a lot on learning what are the basic concepts of JavaScript. Then we'll move to the more advanced concepts like what is ES6, ES7, ES8, and what we have in the market right now is ES Next. So we'll be talking about all the latest features that we have and all those features which will help us develop a good looking application or a good working application. So yep, that is about the technology that I have. That is about what we are going to learn in this particular session. So yep, you can see, you can look for this particular Stack Overflow. You can find out how popular this entire stack is, and that's the reason. So on the top, if you see the most popular technologies, if you talk about at that moment is JavaScript with 67.8% stacks. So if you look for the professional developers, those people who are actually working on professionally on these technologies, again JavaScript is having the topmost stack and the hold in the market. Earlier it used to be Python, earlier it used to be HTML, CSS, but yeah, in a very short span of last 3 to 4 years, JavaScript has excelled a lot. So what you need to do is be great with JavaScript and learn the MERN stack along with JavaScript so that you can create good looking and great application that can fetch you a lot of jobs in the market. Yeah, so that's it about the introduction I had for this course and the content that we are going to cover. Yep. Any questions, anyone? So Hardik, what is the difference between a framework and a library? So Hardik is asking what is a framework and a library. So framework is something which provides you end to end. So Angular is a framework. So if you talk about the front end technology, there is a framework called Angular. Why Angular is called a framework? Because Angular can help you render some HTML. It can help you to make some AJAX calls. It can help you to define some route. It can help you with any damn thing that is required on the front end. Okay. So that's a framework. A framework comprises of multiple functionalities. So Angular is a framework containing a lot of features which enables you to create front end to end. But React is a library. The main intent of React library is to provide seamless user interface. So it is just the view part of the application. How you make the components visible on your browser. Let's say if you are aware of this technology stack, if you have to make ajax calls, then you don't have any support for ajax calls in React. You have to import a third party library or third party JS in order to make a ajax call. Or if you want to put some routing, there is no support of routing in React. You have to import a third party library in order to have some routing up and running. So definitely library is a subset of framework, but React being a library and Angular being a framework, even then React has got the most amount of market stake because React can create very responsive applications. So the amount of speed you get with React is unbeaten as compared to Angular. Angular has got a lot of flaws. Angular has some problem wherein the rendering becomes slow. But let's say if you're working with the application, let's say I'm working in a stock market. So I'm working with an application where I have 1000 stocks and that stock value is updating every second. So you have 1000 stock is updating every second. So let's see, so you can imagine the amount of DOM manipulation that is getting done every second. So in that case, if you are having a lot of DOM manipulation, React is amazing library to work with. But if you are working with some corporate application which want things to be very straightforward, so in Angular is a framework. It provides you a specific way to achieve something. So it has all those predefined frameworks, all those predefined libraries, how those libraries has to be used. Everything is defined. So definitely if you want a lot of DOM manipulation and the speed in your application, React is a better approach to go for. So, yep. So everything that you have on, this browser is document object model or called DOM. So we'll see how we can manipulate DOM using first the JavaScript, the native JavaScript, and then we have a lot of problem manipulating your DOM elements or your, front end. So whatever you are rendering over here. So let's say on the top you have this particular content getting rendered, most popular technologies. So this is an anchor tag, which is there inside a H3, which is header. So this header is a DOM element. So what we have to learn throughout the session in React and JavaScript is how to manipulate these DOMs. So let's say if someone asks you that you have to update the value of this H3 from most popular technologies to least popular technologies, then how can you achieve it using first JavaScript, and how easy it is, how easy it becomes if you are doing the same with React. So we'll do some native DOM manipulation, and then we'll see how easy it is to upgrade to a React framework and what are the powerful features which are offered. Yep. Um, Vishesh Rai, why JavaScript is on the top and why not Python? See, Python, if you're working with Python, Python is a great library. So if these days, if you look into machine learning and data analytics, Python is one of the best library or best backend framework that you can use for machine learning. Python is really fast. But let's say if you're working with Python and you want to have a full-fledged application. Okay. So in order to create a application full-fledged, you have to learn one technology called Python, which has got its own syntax. Then for the database, you have to learn something like SQL, which is again a database, which is completely having a different syntax. Then for the front end, you have to use some technologies like Django. Okay, Django or Flask. For API, you have to use Flask. So Django is altogether having its own syntax, its own way to create application front end. So the other technologies that you have in the market, they do not provide you that ease that you can learn one single technology JavaScript and create application end to end. Definitely Python has got great speed, but JavaScript has got a capability that you can learn one language and create entire multi-stack. And apart from that, what we have in JavaScript is single-threaded execution model. Okay, so there is something called single-threaded execution in JavaScript. So JavaScript is based on single-threaded execution, whereas Python, Java, .NET, they are based on multi-threaded architecture. So this single-threaded architecture versus a multi-threaded architecture of Java, Python, .NET, it creates a big difference. So if you look for a big applications like LinkedIn, which has millions of requests every second, they switched from Python, so whatever framework they had earlier, to a framework which is Node. Node, because Node has single threaded execution model because it's based on JavaScript, and it can help you to cater large amount of requests at a particular amount in a particular amount of time. Okay, so yep, I would say Python is great to learn if you're learning machine languages, if you're learning data analytics. It is one of the most popular technology, unbeatable and unmatchable. But yeah, when it comes to creating a web application end to end, then definitely you require a front end technologies like React or Angular or Vue.js. Then you're using JavaScript in the background. So definitely JavaScript gets a lot of hold in the market, because even if you're working as a server side developer, you are learning Node.js, which uses JavaScript. If you're a front end developer, you are learning Angular or React or Vue.js or jQuery. So these are all JavaScript frameworks. Okay. Another thing is JavaScript can run both on front end as well as back end. Again, that's what I said. You can create a Node program as well as a React functionality using JavaScript. So React, you learn JavaScript, run it on background, run it on foreground, which is either on the front end or the back end. So yeah, it can be said, we can say JavaScript is now these days, the implementation of JavaScript can work either on the server side as well as on the node side, which makes it very popular. The intent of both Python and JavaScript is pretty different. So that's the crux. So they have got their specific intent, and in their intent, if you have to work with a web application, definitely MERN stack or mean stack is great. If you have to work with machine language, machine learning, data analytics, Python is great. Because if you see, one has to do a lot of execution. So if you are working on machine learning, if you are learning on data analytics, if you are working with data analytics, you have to do execution. Whereas if you're working with JavaScript or MERN stack, you have to cater to user requests and fulfill those requests on your browser. So you have to render data, you have to render websites. So again, when we'll get into the details, I'll explain you what is a single threaded architecture of JavaScript versus a multi-threaded architecture of these Python, Java, and .NET, which makes these two technologies pretty different from each other, and which makes Node.js much more responding language. You can have a lot of requests getting responded back within seconds using Node.js. Any other question? Again, JavaScript is easy. JavaScript is a functional programming. If you look for other languages like Java, .NET, they are object-oriented language, which brings a lot of complexity within themselves itself. So JavaScript is plain functional language, and when we'll be working with React, we'll be using all the functional aspect of JavaScript. So the programming is basically divided into two parts. Let's say we can say there's something called functional programming and there is object-oriented programming. JavaScript is fully functional programming, and then we can see how beneficial it is in order to work a functional program rather than working with object-oriented programming. And for to give you the example of this, we all are using WhatsApp. WhatsApp is it got, everyone has WhatsApp in their mobile. So you can think about the amount of data they have, the amount of user base they have in WhatsApp. And this entire company of WhatsApp is run by 51 developers. And the reason why they say that we are able to run this big infrastructure of WhatsApp using 51 developers is a pure usage of functional programming. Yeah. So, yep. So there are other functional languages as well, like C and all those stuff. But those, if you're working to create a web application, definitely you can't create a full-fledged web application using languages like C. You want front end. So browser that you have, so this entire browser where you are running this particular website, it executes on JavaScript. So this entire browser in the background is executing some JavaScript. So if you look for the source, if we look for the pages, there are a lot of JavaScript files in the background that they are executing. So the browser executes JavaScript to make your application responding, to get data for the application, to render your application. And just imagine the kind of ease you get if you use the same JS technology on the server side as well. So that makes it pretty consistent, and the learning curve is really small. That is the reason I would say JavaScript is getting so much attraction in the market. So yep, any other question? Is it possible for anyone to learn the technology within? Yeah, so Hardik, what I was saying is you do not need any, so the application which I'm showing you, At the end of this particular session, you, even if you are, if you don't know anything about HTML, if you, even if you don't know anything about CSS or JavaScript or React, any programming language, if you don't know, then also I assure you that the end of this particular session will help you create an application like this. So at the end of this particular session, which is, entire the, that I, the time around 30 to 40 hours that we'll be spending, we'll start from very basic, thinking about the fact that you are knowing nothing. You are just a new person into this entire development world, no prior knowledge, and we'll just work, together to bring your knowledge to such a, level that we can create applications like this. So yeah, need not to worry. Definitely you can, learn this particular entire session, or how to create websites, how to get data for the website using, even without any prior knowledge. And actually that is great. If you're not having any prior knowledge, you don't have to unlearn something. Definitely whatever you have to do is learning, because the problem is those people who have prior knowledge of languages like Java, .NET, they have to unlearn a lot of stuff. So, and it sometimes, most of the times, become very difficult because conceptually these things are very different. That's what I said. A functional programming versus object programming is whole two different worlds. So definitely, if you are new to this entire programming realm, you can get up and running with practically no knowledge. That is like, that is what I have to, ensure that you are getting all the concepts. So whatever I have shown you, saving database, retrieving database, having these API data, or rendering this data on a website, this is all what we are going to do, and we are going to complete till the end of this particular session. Definitely, Sanchit, when we talk about the space-time complexity issues, definitely every language that we have has got a space-time complexity, because the amount of memory you have for any server, it is limited. So let's say if we are working on this particular browser, this browser has been allocated with certain amount of memory, and that memory, trust me, is very small. It contains, some 100 MB, 200 MB of memory for this browser to run. So whenever we are creating objects in JavaScript, whenever we are creating data in JavaScript, whenever we are rendering this application, so even this stock performance that you have rendered over here, so this particular data that has been rendered over here takes a certain amount of memory space. So I can show you what is the current. So this particular small application that you have, I can close everything. Let's look for a application. Let's say, which is a good application. Make my trip. Let's say, make my trip. So definitely all these application has got a space-time complexities, and I can show you how to find that. You go to memory, or you can take snapshot of the memory that has been used. I can start the profiling, take heap snapshot. I can show you within a short while how much amount of memory this particular browser is taking. And if you are extending that memory a lot, so let's say if you are using a lot of memory, definitely your application performance will go down with time. So that is the reason sometimes if if you keep scrolling your Facebook down, or any such application where you are continuously looking for data, or YouTube or something, after a certain while you feel like the application is slowing down. That is because the amount of objects that are there in the memory is getting, you're expanding the memory, you're putting a lot of objects into it. So we need to always ensure that the amount of, the amount of memory that has been utilized by your application has to be small. And if you're using application like React, definitely React is taking care of a lot of stuff by itself. So if you are working with native JavaScript, definitely you have to take care about what is the space-time complexity, how to reduce the memory footprint. But if you are using React, certain things will be taken care automatically. And JavaScript do not have any custom logic to have garbage collection. Any garbage collection logic that you have is inbuilt in JavaScript. So just like in Java or .NET, you don't have separate destructors where you have to take care of how to, disallocate the memory. So yeah, space-time complexities are there, but JavaScript take care of a lot of stuff by itself. So yeah, I think it's taking a heap snapshot, and it will take a lot of time because this is a very complex website. I can probably inspect this. I can take this as a separate stuff, and we can see what kind of memory utilization this application takes. I can go for the memory and I can profile this up. So this took around, so my application right now has got a memory footprint of 7.9 MB. So as the size of this particular memory footprint will increase, with time my application stops responding in a very seamless way. So in any application, if you see, if you put a lot of animation, if there's an application which has a lot of animations, definitely the performance somehow slows down. But yeah, Chrome browser is very efficient, and it takes, so these are all the memory. So this is a very small website which you saw, but even this website has got so many objects. So you can see the amount of objects that we have for a very small application that has been rendered. And you can see we have some system level objects that has been created, some closures. Then we have 6,312 objects that are created. Then we have some 11,266 arrays. Then we have 43,709 strings that has been created. So this is a memory footprint that we have. Yeah, in the session we'll be talking about how to make the application very performant. We have a lot of articles wherein we can tell you how to work with the performances. I have some articles of mine. We can share that and we can look for application performance and optimizations. So what I can do quickly is, what I can try is I can show you, since few of the people are very new, to the programming world, I can show you how easy it is to work with JavaScript. So let's say the core building block of our entire application would be JavaScript. So I can show you how easily we can create some JavaScript code, execute them, make them reusable. So if you want, I can just walk you through a very small demo of what our sessions would be like and what is the complexity that we'll be having. So I'll assume for now, I'll take that few people or most of you are new to programming. So being a new programmer, I would like to show you something like how JavaScript works and how are we going to proceed in this particular session. So I know people who still have doubt about if you have some prior knowledge, what would happen. If you don't have a prior knowledge, what would happen. Just see how we are going and we are progressing with the code, how we are putting JavaScript code into this particular file, how are we executing it, and how complex it is. So you'll get an idea whether you'll be feeling comfortable while learning JavaScript and the further technologies. So I'll try to keep all these technologies as explainable as possible. So right now, I know many of you are new to JavaScript as well, but I'll write down some code. Even if you're not able to relate to it, syntactically, just try to relate it in the terms of what conceptually this particular program is doing. Okay, so let's talk about what are functions in JavaScript, and I'll try to make you connect conceptually. So even if you have certain problems in the syntax, don't give a lot of, don't stress yourself on the syntax. Just try to understand what is a concept, because once you learn a concept behind any language, definitely you'll be in great state to learn the technology till the advanced version. So what are functions? So let's talk about a small session wherein we can talk about some functions. What are functions in JavaScript? Okay. So function is anything that has a capability to execute again and again. So although many of the people are new to this JavaScript, I'll just start putting some code and you just see whether you are comfortable working with functions or not. So I want to create a function or something that is reusable so that whenever I call a function, he gives me or it returns me certain output. Okay. I want to create a function which return age. So let's say I have a function whose work or I have a particular code construct whose work is to return some value which represents the age. So right now I created, or let's even before that, I want to display the age of a user. So I want to create a function that can display some data about the age of a specific user. So I use a function called console.log. So this is, we can say it's a syntax which can help you visualize some data or which can help you to put down some data in this particular window. So I'll just write some sample code and I'll say, I want to output user with the value 20. I have created a small function and I just want to output the value of this particular function as 20. So we use this syntax. This is a keyword which is called function. This is the function name. And this is what we want to do. We want to return some data which is 20. Now this is someone who's a reusable functionality. So you can use this function again and again to get this particular data 20. So how to call this function? I'll say I have a function which is capable of returning me some data. Let me call that. So these two curly braces these two brackets that you have, it says there might be a function who might be returning you some data. Let me call that function and see what that function returns. So I'm putting these two brackets in front of this function declaration or this function. So let's just run this. How we have to run this is you go to this file, press run. On the bottom over here, you can see you get a value 20. Now, the ease of using this function is you can call this function again and again. So let's say at any moment of time, I want to invoke these functions. So I'm trying to invoke, I want to get this value 20 times, or let's say this is 7 times. So I can call this function 7 times in order to fetch me this result 20. So let's just save this. I'll remove the previous result. I'll call for this result and you can see this particular function when it got invoked, it gave me some output which is 7 times 20. So we ended up creating some syntax which can be reused. And the usage of this particular syntax is to render something to the user. Now, let's say we want to create another function. That function has to add two variables. So a simple function, I want to have a function which has a capability to add two variables that you are adding. I say function add values. So I want to create a reusable syntax where I can pass two values and every time I pass some values to it, it returns me with the sum of those two values. So I can say this add variable takes two variable. So you can pass two data to it. You can pass two numeric values to this particular function. And what this will show you is, so in order to show that result, we'll use console.log. What do you want to show? You want to show addition of A plus B. So now this function is representing a sort of syntax which says pass me two values and then I'm capable of returning a sum out of that two values. How to invoke this function? You use add values. Now you have to pass two values to it. What are those values? Let's say 1, 50. So you want to find out the sum of two values, which is 1, 50. And then you're calling this function which says, okay, 1 will go to this variable A, 50 will go to this variable B. And what we get on the UI, what we get as an output is 1 plus 50. So let's try to run this function. it gives me an output 51. So this is a reusable function, as we said, so we can use this function multiple times so that we can find out result of multiple variables. I want to add 10 plus 50, I want to add 100 plus 50, or let's say some 13 plus 50, and now I want to add some 15 plus 50. Let's save this particular file, let's run this, and you get the output. So you created a single function, a function which is capable of taking different values, and for each value, it takes those values and it adds those values. So now if you want to modify this function, you want to say, okay, I want to put 3 values into it, and I want to find the value of I want to find the sum of all those values. I can say, okay, this function can take another value, let's say C. And what you have to do is A plus B plus C. Right now I'll just focus those who are new to JavaScript and all those stuff. Don't care about syntax. Just try to connect to it logically. You are trying to add 3 variables. What are those 3 variables? 1 comma 50 comma 100, or let's say 10, 1 comma 50 comma 10. So I can copy this value. I want to add a value 10 to each. So now these are the 3 values that I want to add every time. Let's remove this output, run this file again. You get the output 1 plus 50 plus 10, which is 61. So this 1 goes to the variable A, 50 goes to the variable B, 10 goes to variable C, and what we are returning is A plus B plus C. Similarly, it could be, other mathematical calculation like A multiplied by B multiplied by C. So definitely we can have a single reusable function which is capable of returning multiple data. Okay. Now we created a function. Okay. Now there are something, so I'll talk about another concept like what are objects. Okay. What happens when we pass only 2 values? So there's a question which says we are expecting 3 values over here in A, B, and C. What happens if we are only passing 1 comma 50? So at the end, what you're trying to, and the output is not a number, because let's put a debugger. So I'll try to stop my execution on line 6, and we'll see what are the values of A, B, and C. So once we run this program, I have to re-execute this, sorry. We'll put a debugger over here. We are putting just 2 values. So you can see the value of A is value 1 that you passed into it. B contains the value 50 that you passed into it, and C is some value undefined. So what we are trying to do is 1 multiplied by 50 multiplied by undefined. Now this undefined is not a number. So the output of A multiplied by B multiplied by C is not a number, which is represented by nan. So the output is capital N small a n, nan, not a number. So the full form is not a number. It says whatever you were trying to do, this was not a number that you were trying to evaluate. How can you correct this behavior? Let's say you'll say if no value is passed, assign C as 1, assign B as 2, assign A as 3. So provide some default values. So now even if you don't pass any value, what would happen in the background is once you run this, A will be assigned a value of 3, B will be assigned a value of 2, C as 1, and the output that you'll get is 6. If you're not sure about user passing only one value, so let's say there might be a scenario where user is definitely passing 2 values, but he may forget to pass third value. So I can say he's always passing 2 values, but he sometimes forget to put the third value. So we are defaulting the third value to 1. Okay, now let's run this code and we can see the value of A is the value that you passed 1. The value of B is the value that you passed second 20, and 3 took the result, which is the default value 1. And then when you console log this, you get an output, which is, something 20. Not 20. Okay, yeah, you're trying to do 1 into 20 into 1, which is 20. So yeah, few of you might be from Java background or .NET background. If there are any people over here in Java, .NET, and other languages, you have to always define the type of variable. So you will always say that this variable A is of type integer. Integer means, let's say, some numeric value. This B would be of type integer. C would be of type integer. You have to define type of each variable. But in JavaScript, what our JavaScript is pretty much it's open-ended. It do not have a strict mode, so you need not to define any type for these variables. So Hardik has a question: how come JavaScript understands that the value entered is a number or not? Okay, so whenever how do JavaScript, so when you are trying to do some mathematical operation, you are trying to provide some mathematical operation on the values that are present. Okay, let's say right now you want to find out what is the type of variable A that has been passed. So I can try to visualize this using console.log value A. So JavaScript internally this does this. Let me run this program and you'll see the output over here in the bottom. Let's run this. The type of A is number. Okay, let's say you pass some string value into it. This is a string which says hello. This is a string value. Let's say what happens, run this value or we run this particular code. JavaScript will get to know what is the type of this value A, which is string. Then you'll try to multiply a string with 1 and see, it will say the operation that you were trying to do does not has numbers. So it is nan, not a number. Then again, in JavaScript, we have some concept of objects. How come JavaScript? Okay. So Hardik, is that fine? I hope you're able to relate concepts. This is a very small session. I can't cover everything from scratch and make you comfortable about all these syntaxes. But yeah, if you are able to connect conceptually, you can see how we are going to proceed with the course, and that is the ease that I'll try to ensure. Okay. Then let's talk something about what are objects. Let's say anything around you can be represented as object. So let's say right now you're working on your laptop. Laptop can be defined as a object. You might be viewing a monitor. Monitor is a object, a real-time entity, something that exists in a real time. A water bottle, some curtains, a book, a copy. So all of them are objects. And when we say that a specific stuff is an object, what we do is we associate some properties with it. So let's say in front of you, you might be having a laptop. This laptop has certain properties. What are the properties of a laptop? It might be having some RAM size. It might be having some, screen resolution. It might be having a company. It might be having some serial number associated with it. So any object around you. So let's say if you have a water bottle, then the water bottle might be having some properties like what is the color of water bottle, what is the make of water bottle, in which year it was manufactured, what is, let's say, uh, let's say the serial number of this water bottle. So everything around you is a object which can be represented as object contains certain properties. Your mobile is a object contains, your mobile contains properties like what is the screen size, what is the RAM over there, what is the memory space, what is the the OS that you are using, the Android version that you are using, and so on, the apps that you contain. So everything in the world that is represented in a real time environment has some properties associated with it. So let's say I'm working with a company, and in my company I have employees. So each employee in my company has certain properties associated. So my employee has certain properties like name. It contains property like age. He might be having some designation, some salary, some bonus details. So that is what we represent as object in JavaScript or the real world. So let's say in a real world, if I have a company and that company contains certain employees and I want to represent those employees, how can I represent them using JavaScript? Okay, I can say where employee details. So details, sorry, I'll say employee details. So I want to add a object called an employee. So I can say an employee is an object. This employee might be having multiple properties like name. So you have a name and we have a semicolon which says this is the property which this employee can have and this is its value. So the name of the employee is Mayank. The age of employee is, let's say, 10. The designation of this particular employee is, you know, trainer. Then we might be having some salary of this particular employee as 1 and so on. So in a real-time world, if you have to represent an, a particular object inside your JavaScript world, you have a certain set of key value pairs. Piyush, I'll just answer your question in a while. So what I'm saying is I have an entity in the real world, which is my employee. Let's say the first employee of my company, he's having certain name, age, designation, salary. With time, I might recruit some second employee. So he's also an object. Object and again contains some properties. So this is a second employee object. He represents the second employee which entered my company in a data format. He might be having some name, which is Ankit. He might be having certain other attributes. Then similarly, you can have certain other parameters. So I can have another object in my company, which is I have hired a manager. So this manager has certain attributes. Attribute would be what is the name of a manager. Let's say A. What is the age of this manager? He's relatively older, 40. What is a designation? I might assign a designation of manager to this particular person. This manager might be having some team size. So I have a team associated with this particular manager, which is a team of 30 people. So this way you can see we are trying to visualize a real time, a person in my company who's designated as manager into a programmatic format. So we are just seeing some properties that are associated with this particular person or the manager that we recruited. And then let's say we stored this particular data in some memory address and someone asks me at any random moment of time that you have recruited a manager and what is the age of that manager. So we say, okay, we have an object called manager. At any moment of time, if you have to look for the age of this manager, you can find it using a dot notation. So you are saying, go to the memory space which represents my manager, find me the age. Or let me search for my first employee. And for my first employee, get me the name. So what we are doing is this data that you have that is stored inside certain memory location, first employee, second employee, manager. And what we are saying is go to this memory location, fetch me the data about age, fetch me the data about designation, fetch me the details about the key, which is team size. So that way we can represent and access an object which is there inside our memory. So I can access the team size that I have associated with this particular manager. Okay. So Piyush, you said in Python, the output is always treated as string. But yeah, definitely in JavaScript, it's not the scenario. I don't know what Python is doing in the background. But in JavaScript, what you are doing is, see over here, you have manager.team size. This is a numeric value. So when you type this team size, you get a numeric value. You can convert this numeric value into a string format using toString. So now this is a string value. So yeah, you have some data types in JavaScript, which could be an object, it could be a string, it could be an integer, it could be a Boolean, it could be, a null value and so on. So none is also a type, undefined is also a type. So, and we have something called symbols. So they are also a type. So yeah, we have different types in JavaScript. They could be number and other types that we have in other programming languages. So yeah, this is how we create objects. So let's say we are working with JavaScript. Definitely you will be dealing with a lot of objects. Everything in JavaScript has to be represented as a object. Yeah, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, sorry for a halt. So what I'm saying is, yeah, you have definitely many data types in JavaScript as well. There's no fixed data type. So yeah, this is a crux. We are going to deal with a lot of objects, and we have to see how to manipulate objects. So at any moment of time, if you have to change this manager age, so you'll say, okay, go and access this manager memory space. Inside that memory space, I have to update the age to 50. So let's run this program. At the end, if you look for the manager details, so initially you assigned the age as 40, then you went and updated it. So the updated age went to be 50. You are creating a memory space, adding some key value pairs, then you are modifying that particular key value. These are objects. So initially we created a function. So let's get back. We created some function initially few minutes back. So let's create another function. I'll say I want to create a function which says get employee details. This is a reusable function. I'll say this functionality return. So as you can see the syntax, it can return me some key value pairs as well. So it says return me an object whose name. So I can say name is Mayank and whose age is 20. So this is what we have. We have a function which returns an object. How to call this particular object? I'll just call this function in the similar fashion. Now you can see that this particular function is returning something. Since it is returning something, it has to be saved somewhere. So I can say whatever this particular function is returning, save it into a variable called details. So create a var detail and save whatever we are getting back from this function. So let's try. So we'll say console.log. So I'll try to see what is the details dot name that I get out of it. So let's run and put some halt over these program. Let's go. I'll press something which is F11. It goes and it says, okay, return me a object, and this particular execution will return a object having name and age. We press F10. Now you can see details is just an object containing a value name having Mayank, age having 20. You can now access details dot name, which is Mayank. So this is how we work with objects. This is how we create reusable functions. Or let's say this function right now is a very static function which always returns a same name Mayank and same age 20. But earlier we saw a function which is which can take variable values for addition and then provide us different results. So if you're passing 1 comma 2, you get 3. If you pass 2 comma 3, you get 5, and so on. So we can create reusable function. We can create functions that can return simple data, a string data, functional data, or we can create some functions which can return some objects, and also we can create functions that can also return some functions. So yeah, that would be a part of advanced JavaScript part. We'll be talking something about closures. What are closure? What are context? What is hoisting? How JavaScript works in the background? How Node works? What is the single threaded architecture? Definitely, it's just a teaser for you. But the course content, if I show you, is huge. We have a lot of course, and then I'll just focus on the fact that at the end of the session we'll have this particular application which I showed you initially up and running. Okay. So if I show you, I can show you right now. I'm sorry for that. But give me 1 minute. I'll just download few files and I can show you the kind of content that we have for this particular session. Let's show in folder. So yeah, these are the 3 files that we are going to talk about. So the course content is lot, and we'll try to cover it with as much ease as possible. So yeah, we'll be dedicating time separately for Node.js. So we'll be learning few concepts with Node.js. Then we'll be having some dedicated time for React. We'll be learning this React technology in detail. So these are all the topics. I don't know whether they have been shared or not, but yeah, I can share it right away. And we have some topics for HTML. We have topic for styling, how to work with Bootstrap, CSS, then working with JavaScript, working with objects, manipulating DOMs, working with modern JavaScript, which is ES6, ES7, ES Next, all those things which are into the market, and since which are there since last 3 to 4 years, which has got a lot of scope and job opportunities. So yep, these 3 files represent the kind of the width of course and the content that we are going to cover. Maybe Rahul will share all these files with you. I'm not sharing these files right now. So yeah, definitely you can get back to Rahul and ask for the course content that we are going to cover. Yeah, and again, I want these sessions to be very interactive. Anytime you have some problems, we'll discuss technically about those problems. We'll invest a lot of time understanding the concepts, and we'll try to make it as responsive as possible. I'll respond to your questions. You ask me questions. We'll have a discussions around it, and we'll try to do things. So maybe I'm writing down some code. You can ask me, okay, what if we are not putting this line of code, and what if we update this code to this particular way? Then how does the function works and how does the output works? So yeah, we can do a lot of such exercises. I would say, yeah, that's it. I think that was a long session, 1.5 hour session, but yeah, primarily focused on what is MERN stack and what we are going to cover. Any questions, anyone? I mean, you can post those questions to Rahul, or like in the programming part, what you want to learn in terms of the technology, you can ask those questions to me. So any questions regarding
We
the
can,
syllabus?
yeah. So you can turn on, turn off the mute now, and we can actually discuss anything that you have in mind. So during the session, while it is on, to make the recordings proper, we may not take questions on voice. We'll be very happy to take them in chat. But once the session is over, yes, we'll be very happy to take any questions you have. So you can unmute yourself, and we can discuss anything you have in mind. This
And
is
I'll
the
ensure,
format
yeah.
of the yeah, this is the format of the course. So we will have these sections for about 1.5 hour every day, and we will walk through the code. So this is 100% hands-on course. We hardly use any slides here, and we will walk through the entire set of stack to make sure that you're able to make the application that we talked about. And this can be the project that you work on, or you can make another project, and we can help you with that. But this is the roughly the format and the approach that we will use on this course. So any questions, anybody will be very happy to take them on. So is the content clear? Were we able to reach out to you? Should we, simplify the details? Anything at all? Should we cover anything more? Please feel free to give your comments.
So Hardik, I think we have a course content which is somewhere around 30 to 40 hours, which we'll be using in order to, have these technologies up and running. Definitely these 30 and 40 hours are, we can't get into depth of every concept, but yeah, we'll try to, make it as informative as possible, at least for you to have all the concepts and the basic understanding.
Okay, guys, in case there are no more questions, then we will wrap up the session here. I've already shared the link with you on the course content and also the payment structure. And in case you are interested, you can either send me a mail to switch you over from your current course, or in case you want to invest in this course, you can do that also. The link is there. You can make online payment and get enrolled in this course. Any questions, I'm already contacting you on WhatsApp, so you can reach out to me directly, or you can give me a call, any which way. We'll wrap up the session here then. Thank you everyone for coming and attending this session. If you like this session, please share it with your friends so they can join. We will have another similar demo session for tomorrow, and after that, the regular sessions will start. So if you want any of your friends to come, you can ask them to come for tomorrow's session. It is free. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Hope you liked it. We can probably meet tomorrow again if you like the session. Yeah, thanks everyone.